Welcome back to the Best Advice podcast. And this week we're joined by one of my favourite people in the world, Wendy Smith. Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Ben. Hey, Fraser.
Welcome.
Wendy, what's the best advice you've ever received?
I found this really interesting because I'm a bit of a self-help junkie. I'm the person that has been, to Tony Robbins and walked on fire. I've conquered my fears, jumping out of planes. I've done the whole life book thing, which is why I have a big, extraordinary life thing behind me. And I also don't remember anything anymore. So trying to work out who said what and what was good advice was a little bit tricky. But I actually think it came from my psychologist in my 20s when I wasn't the happiest person. And she said to me one day, "What do you want?" And I proceeded to answer that question for, I think, 2 full sessions on all the things I didn't want. And she said, "Okay, the rules for our 3rd session are you're not allowed to say anything you don't want." And I was silent for quite a long time after that. But I think that this really matters more and more now because we're so bombarded as well with advice from everyone. Social media says you should be a certain way and, your parents say you should be a certain way and all that sort of stuff. And it just now comes down to, hang on a minute, what do I want? Do I really want to be doing the work I'm doing or do I want something else? And what is it that I really want to kind of love my life?
And does that changed a lot? I mean, you were mentioning there in your 20s, which just a year or 2 ago, I would assume.
Love you.
But given I've known you for a little while, I've noticed, you've changed a lot over the last 10 years. And my read would be what you want has changed. So is that something that you're reconsidering on a regular basis, or is it something that you have, the plan behind you around what that looks like and it's fairly static? How's that play out in your life?
I think it is kind of part of the journey of life, and that the more you learn, the more you learn about everything else as well as what you learn about yourself, the more you get clearer on what you want. But obviously things change. And you and I were laughing a bit earlier about me going out for my partner's birthday last night, and we were home by 9:30 after 2 drinks, and best night ever compared to my 20s when it certainly didn't look like that. But I also think, from a work perspective, that's changed a lot for me too. And so, I got my first life coaching qualification back in 2017, and that just felt so much better to me. But it was also not what I was brought up to believe in, being company secretary and doing all these proper jobs were the good things to do. But this idea of maybe getting paid to help people be happier or feel good was just not what you did. So it's that real thinking about it constantly and always be working on that. Yeah.
I want to congratulate you for being a self-help junkie, by the way, because sometimes I think we all are to a degree, but some of us go deeper. I think it's one of those scenarios that people can complain about the situation around them, or they can do something about it, right? And so taking initiative to get up your backside and go and do some stuff and try and learn some stuff and think about the way things that make you happy. Congratulations! I think that's fantastic. I want to go back to the what do you want? Because I think we'll keep circling back to it quite a bit during the conversation. And when you said it, I wrote it down, but then I started emphasizing the different words in my head around, what do you want versus what do you want and all those other things. Because as you said, everybody jumps into, it'd be very normal human behavioral aspect to jump into say, oh, I don't want this and I don't want that and I don't want this. And these people over there are like that. Maybe I want that. I'm not sure if I want that or not. It's a big piece of work, not just as simple as 4 words.
Yeah.
How did you go through that process? Obviously, you went through it with a professional that guided you through it. But tell us a little bit about, at the time, was it the first thing you said, or was it actually the 10th thing you said as they dug down? How specifically, what do you mean by that type questioning?
And I think most of it ended up happening through, because I was so clear on what I didn't want. It was like flip that around. What's the opposite of that? And then go, oh, does that appeal to me? And what appeals to me about that? And I don't know who started this, but there's a thing called the 7 levels of why. And it's, why do you do that? And you keep asking that down and down and down. And I felt that really happened because I was very much like, I don't want to be like my mum because she was sort of stuck in an unhappy relationship and she just looked after kids and she didn't have what to me felt like a lot of purpose or friends or happiness. And so, the first thing I realized I wanted was a dinner party, like with awesome conversations with people. That's what I wanted to be doing, like having real conversations. And that led to me then realizing that the majority of the world, I think, believes I'm like this big party extrovert person and I can fake that person really well. But I just want a conversation with one person and I want it to not be about the weather and I want to be saving the world. And then I want to go and have a good lie down with a book and a cup of tea. So it's just that constant questioning. And when I had no idea, it was really the opposite of that kind of thing. Yeah. And now I've got this awesome journal that every day I can look back on the day and go, how do I feel now? Did I do things that I liked doing today? And what was good about it? And what was I doing because somebody else said I should do it? And, is there a way to make me more me?
So reading between the lines of what you said there, asking a process could be something like working at, what do you want? What do you don't want? Starting with what do you don't want? Chunking that down by asking, why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that 7 times? Flipping it or reversing it and then bringing that back up, chunking that back up to maybe something around the concept of what am I getting out of that? Why does that light me up? Is it the conversation I'm getting with the people? Is it the critical thinking involved in that, plus the connection, plus the plus, etc., to then work out why it's a dinner party?
Yeah, except that sounded kind of complex. And I like to think I'm a lot more simple than that.
It's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned the journal and going through that process. And I've got a terrible memory. I can't remember what happened 5 minutes ago, let alone yesterday or a couple of weeks ago, particularly given how many things I were juggling. But are you finding? So I've been keeping journal as well. I'm shocked by like how much I do and everything going on but how it actually plays out in a way I probably planned but don't think about consciously. Are you finding that going back with the journal? Are you finding things are moving in the right direction and going the right way?
And that's a really nice way to put it, that they are actually moving forward and going in the right direction. And it's that looking back and realizing you've done so much more than you think you've done. Because we're so bad. One of my big things at the moment is this idea about celebrating what we've done, because it's like, oh, finish that big thing. That's awesome. Like I've just rebranded and I'm like, okay, that's done. Let's go do the next thing. And when you look back in your journal and go, oh, look, I did, wow, that's amazing. And I can't believe I did those things. Or, I've been going to the gym for nearly 2 years and did my first pull up, like unassisted. So, but how do we celebrate these things a bit more and go, oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, the looking back. And how did that make me feel? So what does that mean about what I want next?
The dopamine hit. Don't we love a good little dopamine hit?
Yes.
Just on that, you mentioned what people think you're like compared to how you see yourself. To that point, like your LinkedIn, which is the main bit I see, but I think you do it on Instagram as well, is very, it's about your coaching business. It's about where your life is going, what you're doing. You often talk about some of the challenges and what you're dropping and where you're moving in a different direction to get closer to the what you want. Versus the, before when we were talking, like I went out to dinner and I was in bed by 9:30 because that's what I actually want. And the difference between what you're putting out there and what you're living.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I wonder how different they actually are. And then this also comes down exactly back to this idea of what do you want? versus what everyone else thinks you should be doing too, because it's like, what am I putting on Instagram? And is this professional, not Instagram, sorry, LinkedIn, but is this professional enough? And how then do we do us more in a out there in public kind of way versus professional way? And are they the same thing? And yeah.
That was exactly the question I was about to ask you. Sorry, Ben. Was that concept of when you do think about what you want, it becomes daunting then to say, I've worked out what I want. How do I tell the people around me what I want without fear? How do I communicate that? So if you want, people be listening to this in different positions, wanting to tell their workmates something about what they're doing, or they might be wanting a promotion, or they might be wanting some other stuff around there. But then they've got to come out and say that thing. Did you discover that there was a overcoming some fear around that there was an imposter syndrome around how do you then say, if people around you are still in that space of they knowing what they don't want, but they haven't worked out what they want yet, how do you come out and say what you want? And has that ever been an issue for you?
I think yes. And I also think there's probably some places where I still don't 100% do it. But I always thought you need to find your couple of really safe people. And if you've got your safe people and you can talk to them, and that might, one, help you feel more comfortable to then take it further. Or if when you take it further, it doesn't go quite as expected, you can come back to your safe people to feel okay about it all again. And I think that's also really changed, now that I'm in my 50s, really even changed some of my close friendships, that I'm not quite friends with people that were on the same page going in the same direction anymore. I need my people to be a safe place. So that's a really important thing to me at the moment. And I think that really defines who I am and what I want to be for other people too. So it's really been nice to know that is something I really deeply want as well. And to have that sense of really solid, this is something I know that I want really deeply, is then really exciting too, because then you know that it's really right, and to keep going with it no matter what happens out there.
Just on that, and getting back to something else you said earlier, there's a lot of advice out there. There's a lot of, do this and your life will be amazing. Why has this one stuck with you versus a lot of the other stuff that you might read on a day-to-day basis?
I think because in some ways it's not advice. Like there's nothing in there telling you to do things in a certain way. It's just you doing you, and nearly how do we quiet the noise all around us so that we can just do us, so that I can go and get a mullet haircut, even though, most of my family are like, no, and I can give up wearing makeup when the rest of the world screams, we do not go out in public wearing makeup, and we do not go to photo shoots and stuff like this with no makeup, and I think if you care then deeply enough about something, once you know what you want, you nearly feel a sense of, it's not quite obligation, but I want to be the role model, or I want to be the change I want to see in the world.
I'm going to ask you this question, even though I think I know the answer. Do you identify as someone who knows what they want?
Oh, yes. Caveat. I don't believe there's this is a fairly new thing that I've learned. I don't believe there's any such thing in life anymore as getting there. All I ever wanted to do in life was be there, and I would be happy and everything would be awesome and, woohoo, yeah. Since I've then gotten to some of those places that I thought were there and it was just another place, I've realized that you never get there, that life is just this huge journey of learning and learning more and carrying on and hopefully moving forward as well as a few steps backwards. And so I think as to being a person that knows what they want, and also being a person that I loved maths at school, so I'm a little bit obsessed with scoring things. So I'm going with 80%, like I'm doing really, really well, but there's obviously space to know more.
Absolutely. I think Dr. Adam Fraser had that book about the concept of striving is the journey is actually where everybody's getting most of the as we said, the dopamine or the reward mechanisms around. And when people get there and sports people, win the grand final and they're like, it hasn't sunk in yet because it's not going to sink in. That's not the place you think it is. It's the journey that's been so rewarding.
No, just check marks all over the place.
So what do you want along the way? Sounds like a good.
Yes, to Ben's point, I want everything ticked off my list. It's never going to happen.
No, but I think there's also there's an element of maturity that I broke the chain, but I'm going to keep going with this anyway, which doesn't happen a lot in my life, to be honest. If I start off for a couple of days and I go, yes, this is good, and then I can't do it one day, and then, no, that's it, gone. I would reflect that I noticed a change at one point in your life around this. Would you say that you had a point where your perspective and outlook and starting to live this changed?
Yeah. And that's interesting because I hadn't really thought about that. But I think a lot of that all started happening in my late 40s when you start getting to an age where you're like, oh my God, what am I missing out on? And what legacy do I want to leave? And who am I? And am I doing what I'm doing today every day now until I die for 40 years? And how does that feel like? And is that enough? And yeah, who I want to be and what impact do I want to have? And so that was probably my late 40s. And then when a lot of things started shifting for me around that time about, and I can't quite work out exactly why, but maybe it was something along the self-help, self-development lines that got me to this stage of, to do things that I want to do, I need to have a level of liking myself and self-trust and self-belief and self-confidence. And so it was really working on a lot of those things, I think, to get really clear on what I wanted. And I did actually do a pretty cool course called Life Book, and it was about everything you want in your life. And so it gave me a lot of ideas that I hadn't thought of. And then it went, okay, well, if these other people are living these amazing lives, why can't I do that? So it was just starting to take little steps into doing that. And I said something before about conquering my fear of heights and jumping out of a plane. And like just such funny things happened during that time. Like I went up a tower just to check I could, I'm okay. But then I went to do a flying fox and I just needed a mantra. I needed something to get me through. So I did my mantra all the way in the car, all the way down there. And I get there and the bloke looking after it's like 20 and, he's real dirty. He's like, mate, how's it going? And I've gone, I'm bold and brave. I'm safe and secure. I'm confident and capable. And he went, okay then. Hello, next people. How are you? Like he's just like, go. And then we go to start and there's another girl there with her boyfriend and she's just looking terrified. She's like, oh my God, I'm not going first. And I'm like, I'm bold and brave. I'm safe and secure. I'm like, I'll go first because then I don't have to watch anyone else do it. And then by the end, I'm like, yep, I'm letting go with my hands as we're flying down the last zip line. I'm like, let's make it fun because why not? So I think it was those stepping stones to some self-confidence that then makes you realize you can keep taking steps as you go.
I was going to say there are different heights and there are different ways those heights affect you. I worked up Centrepoint Tower fine for 5 years. You get me sort of 2 or 3 meters up. Nah.
Because there's no outside safety rail.
When there's somebody from the outside looking in and observing you and your behavior, I think one of the things that question, what do you want, and the continual pursuance of understanding what that is for you has given you something to be purposeful on and a passion to follow and all those sorts of things. And by the way, I actually love the fact that you don't always tread the path that everybody says that you have to go, and that you can find your own path and way there. But you know the direction, right? You know that what that outcome is that you're chasing, and it doesn't have to be the way that other people do it. I do also like the concept that, when you do walk your own path, it can be a little bit out on one of the left or right wings sometimes, and sometimes you have to come back to center and ask for forgiveness. Has it ever happened to you?
Oh, yeah, it's so funny when I want to say, yes, I ask for forgiveness because I'm a really good person, but I can't think of any example. Yeah. I think I then just get a bit, I don't know what to do, so I'm like, oh, stuff you.
I think we all get to a point in our lives where we stop caring a little bit too much about what other people think as well. We're like, okay, you know what? They've got their own stuff going on. I'm just going to focus on the outcome of what I want and follow that.
Yeah. So true. So true. Yeah.
So you mentioned you do some life coaching. You got some clients and work with them and stuff. And you've been through a journey and there's been changes in your life as you've started to live this more recently rather than maybe earlier when you originally got the advice. How do you see this play out with other people when you have this conversation with them?
Yeah, so much of the conversation that I have with people these days as well is just, it is, I guess, coming back to the wants, because it's cleaning up all the mess in your head. Like, we're just trying to do it all at once and then feeling bad that we're not doing it all at once. So I'm a little obsessed with this idea of being kind to yourself, because I don't think we achieve more by being super critical and mean to ourselves. So, I mean, just try it and see what happens, kind of thing. And I think most people really have, coaching's really interesting because once you're certified through the International Coaching Federation, it's absolutely about not giving any advice. So I find advice such a conflicting issue in my head now. And for a long time, I really struggled coaching people because I thought I was there to help and fix them. And I'd give them amazing advice and they'd walk off and their lives would be amazing. Where it turns out that's not the case. And what the cool thing is about it is that it's about helping you to untangle all the mess and all the tabs open in your head to actually then come back to getting a bit of clarity about your life and who you are and what you want. And then you can go off and do that. And then when it gets a bit tangled again, you can come back and we can work through that. So I think that's exactly what happens in that process. Yeah.
I do love that, the concept of the coaching where you do make the actual person come up with their own advice. Basically, what advice would you give yourself? If you were, looking back on your life, in 5 years from now, what advice would you give yourself? And then you've got the answer, drawing the answers of those good things. Maybe we should be asking that question, Ben, in the Best Advice podcast. Wendy, what advice would you give yourself at this point in your life?
Keep going. Keep doing you. Be more you. I find the whole coaching thing really interesting too, because when I think about some of the best coaches I've had, the best sessions then are the sessions where I'm like, oh, Christ, I hate you. Stop asking me such hard questions where I have to come out with an answer that I know is my answer, but I don't want to say it.
That moment when you feel like you just walked into a trap, is that I just walked straight into that. I'm going to have to deal with myself, yes. I'm going to have to give myself an uppercut and tell myself, why were you behaving that way when clearly you want this other thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, have you got those questions for Wendy right now?
Yeah. No, my coach does that too. He always does it. I don't know why I pay him.
No.
So on that, I know you very well, Wendy, and I've worked with you. Other people who are listening may not have necessarily come across you and what you do for work, and then you've obviously got the stuff you really enjoy doing. And I made that comment about, I think I know when you started to live it, because you left us and then you came back and you were very different. But even then, it's snowballed. But sorry, where I'm getting to is what do you actually? I'm interested in the coming back bit actually, because I don't think we've had this conversation. But you went and then you came back. But maybe just what do you do? Why do we know you? What goes on in your life?
Yeah.
I've got you on a second.
It's really interesting thinking back on your life about what you feel is a failure versus what isn't a failure. And leaving and coming back to the same job, I actually don't look back on that as a failure because I left to launch my coaching business, which didn't happen, and I came back. But now I just think it's hilarious. In what sort of a world do you think that you can go and launch a business with no business skills, no marketing skills, no process for getting clients? No. Yeah, but you learn, and you knew people, but I didn't know the people. I didn't know any of the things. I didn't have the self-confidence to do it then either, because I still thought that I was meant to rescue and save and fix people, and that was the purpose to my life. So that just makes me laugh that there was no way that was going to happen. And you look at the statistics for the number of people that have done some sort of life coaching qualification that are now full-time life coaching, and it's insanely small. And a couple of the ones that are really successful aren't even coaching. They're teaching coaches how to get clients and things as well. You know, what? But then at some stage, because I loved the life book course so much, I decided that I'd become one of their facilitators and spent a fortune doing that and doing all the training and doing everything, and then did this fantastic launch on Instagram. It was awesome. No one joined. But at the time, I was a devastated wreck. Like, I didn't get out of bed for 2 days after that, because the message I told myself was, you gave it, like, this was nearly a second chance. You gave it a go. Nothing happened. You don't know what you're doing. And if you couldn't do this, then this means you can't do this forever. And I sort of gave up then that this was not my second career, and this is not where I was heading to as a retirement job. And it took a long time to sort of let go of that and go, well, hang on a minute. Again, did you do what you were told to do for marketing, or did you make it up yourself? Did you listen to some experts, or did you not? Have you built an audience? Do you even have a lead magnet? Have you done any of the things you're meant to do for a business? Or not meant to do, but one option as a process. So I finally went, that's okay. Let's just carry on, kind of thing. And I do believe that whilst you learn things, I'm also a little bit woo-woo, maybe because it makes me feel better, that the universe sort of gives you what you need to know, which is a super bitch at times, but it will just keep giving you the same lessons until you learn them. So therefore, I'm really chilled now. Like, I haven't left day work. I am not speaking on stages as a coach, and it's still all okay. You know, I'm still creating a safe place for people, and I still go to bed at night feeling really good about that. And I still really like that. And I'm still learning a lot more, making really good connections with people, and just becoming better at all the things. And it's fun, Nelly. Like, I actually really like Instagram now. I'm actually having fun doing messages. And when it's not salesy and it's fun, I think that makes a big difference to all the people around you as well.
So the concept of, you know, obviously when you go through a process like that, you think this is amazing, everyone's going to love this. You launch it and you realize that people aren't as invested as you are, or they're not at the same place on their journey.
What's wrong with them?
Part of finding them. There's a as you, and you brought up the concept of, you know, self-confidence and then, you know, that realization and that roller coaster of being so high about and happy about something, and then it's like, oh, what's happened? Do you have any tips or advice for people that are going through that roller coaster that might be at a place where their self-confidence is low?
And I think that self-confidence one comes back to just taking tiny steps. Like, I think we're meant to take huge leaps in life and get somewhere, and it will be amazing, without realizing that so many of the good things that happen come from just taking tiny little steps, and half the time they're boring, but just taking them over and over and over and over and over again, kind of thing. And that real sense of, how do I not let myself down today? If I can choose that one thing that I need to do to go, yep, good day, and then do that thing, rather than going, it's too hard, I don't like it, I don't want to, it's boring, I don't have time, I can't. or doing something towards doing that so that you're not letting yourself down and, you can trust yourself, then that is the key to me to building up your self-confidence. And also hanging around people that make you feel good, like the people that go, awesome, you took a step. That's bloody brilliant. That's all you needed to do today. You didn't need to save the world. Like, let's just keep doing that rather than the people going, well, I don't see why you don't give up. It's going to be too much hard work. Stop hanging out with those people.
Does that foundation of being able to keep going, taking small steps, even when you feel like you're not progressing and keep taking a step, and then some days will be a big step, but other days will be small steps. Does that foundation always come back from that knowing what you want? Again, your passion and purpose of understanding and writing down what it is you want?
Yep. Which completely comes back to my whiteboard at the bottom over here, and this fact that we forget all the good things we do. So like listed down on the left is here are the things that matter to me right now, like that I'm doing some exercise and that I'm drinking water and that I'm not drinking alcohol today, all that kind of type stuff. And then every day I just write down the number of the day that I did it so I can go, hey, look, you're a hero. You've done all of this kind of thing. Rather than just going, what did I do this year? I didn't really do anything. But the other thing, because it's a whiteboard, there'll be things on there like, I'm going to start meditating and be really good at meditating. And then you go, oh, look, you've done it twice in 3 months. Do you really want it? And you're going to start doing it? Or is it just not important enough right now? So then I can go, you know what, let it go. Just let it go, rub it off, maybe put something else on. Yeah. And in that being kind to yourself, I also then realized that it was a bit of a tool for feeling bad about yourself. Like, oh, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. So I've also put on there's a category that's like a fun category. So you go out to dinner, put that down there, go to the beach, that goes down there. Whatever your fun thing is, we went to Melbourne for the weekend, that sort of thing. So you can just say you're living nearly sort of a balanced life, or the life that you want to be living, which is doing fun stuff.
When you do that, and obviously for those people that can't see this, might be listening to this, you've got a board behind you full of sentences about things that you might want. You're going to end up with a lot of things. How are you prioritizing those? How are you making sure that you dedicate the time in the diary for the big rocks and make sure that you're getting some of the smaller rocks? How much time do you spend focusing on that outside of your work and the general stuff that you got to do, everyone has to do every day?
Yeah. Well, in some good news, the whiteboard's like a certain size, so you can only write so many things on there, which is a little bit helpful. And then but that forces me to choose which ones are going to go on there, and they change each year. I've found this a really interesting journey to go on, because my whole whiteboard started, like over 15 years ago to pay off debt. And so there was all sorts of different ways of doing that and whatever. And then over the years it changed and we got to this. And my goal setting then was, fairly normal goal setting, like 8 years ago, where I'd have, 8 big goals for the year. And they'd be big goals and they'd never get done. And you'd be like, well, that's ridiculous. What are you going to do about that? So I started adding on smaller goals as well to my list. So last year before, I'm going to say my goals list was like, one year was 50 things. The next year was 75 things, which seems stupid, but it actually worked really well because some of them were small things like, my knives had always been blunt, and so let's go get them sharpened. Or I haven't seen my cousin for a year, so there was a lot of fun things on the goals list as well. And therefore, I could get to the end of the year and go, look, I've crossed 40 out of 50 things off the list. Like, that's incredible. Like, that's 40 things that would not have happened otherwise, rather than focusing on the 10 that didn't happen. That's what I've been doing the last few years. This year, I've changed it around, and it's I'm writing and I'm about to launch a new course. And I've actually put only one thing on my list, which is on my goals list, which is launch this course twice. Because I just want to say, like, does that work? Does it not work? Does it stress me out then when it hasn't worked and the whole year's a disaster because I haven't done my one goal? But it's also taking that out of everything you do as well. Like, rather than going, the thing failed, which means I'm a failure. It's just more of, well, where did the system go wrong? Like, I didn't fail. My system failed. So how can I look to fix my system?
And it's also the fact that if everything fails, you end up with exactly what you got now anyway.
Yeah. So you haven't lost anything.
Yeah. Apart from learning a good experience along the way and a few things you probably wouldn't do again. Hey, one of the other things that I noticed you did a post on a while ago was the concept of being wrong, which kind of led me to that. You know, what you just said led me to that. Can you talk a little bit about what your advice is around how people should embrace being wrong?
Yes. And I used to be obsessed with being right. Absolutely obsessed. I went to a fairly fancy boarding school and it was a very academic school. So I went from being the smartest kid in my little primary school to like the bottom quarter. And so left high school feeling really dumb and stupid. And to prove that I was smart enough, I had to be right, no matter what. And I can't remember when this happened, but at some stage fairly recently, I did something and I was wrong. And I was nearly so pleased that I was wrong because it meant I didn't have to keep doing something a certain way because that way was wrong. I could actually go, oh, here's a new way and I can do something different and I can change my mind and to me now being wrong is the idea of learning something. So I've learnt something and you're like, that is so cool. I so didn't know this before and therefore I'm wrong. And now I've learnt better. And then is there more to learn in there that I can get out of that and keep going? So I do. I actually love being wrong now because you're like, oh, maybe it's a light bulb moment that I've learned something big and exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic way to find the positive in that, find their learning and then go, yeah, I've learned something. So that's great. I've taken small steps forward in that direction you talked about.
Yeah. Just don't tell my partner. He doesn't know I'm willing to be wrong yet.
Oh, he knows.
And my wife would sound wrong.
Just saying.
Embrace it.
Why does anyone listen to you? You're always wrong. Like,
it's because one day I'll be right.
Yay.
Does that make you the most learned? You're the most learned, or I'm the most learned because I'm the wrong the most?
Yeah. Oh. How can I get that onto my goals list? How often can I be wrong this year? That would be really interesting.
You mentioned in terms of the coaching, you're not looking to give people the answers, but sort of outside the coaching in other life, is there advice that you're giving to other people? Is it the what do you want that we've discussed through this, or is there something else that you tends to be your go-to best advice that you kind of give to people?
I am very big on this idea of how do you define success for you? Because I think what happened is we went to school and the way that, do your best and the best person in the class is the person that gets the most marks and everything was about we're aiming for 100% and, what's your ATAR and what's this? And, here's the big rewards for the smartest kid in the school. And I think that we got so obsessed with nearly being perfect or striving to be perfect that we don't think about what does success look like for us. And I guess as an example, I started ballet at 53 and I had no experience in the past. So I'm dreadful and that's perfectly fine. And then I've had times of going, I'm not getting any better. I haven't gone from beginners to intermediate. Like if you're doing something, you're meant to do it well. And therefore I'm meant to be getting better and better and better. But the point is I laugh a lot. There's lovely people in my class. We all support each other. The teacher just shakes her head at us sometimes going, oh, what are you doing? But it's fun. So what are you doing and how are you defining your success?
I really love it. I really like that concept of what is the measure of success, or you define success for you, like that part, because there's so often it's very easy to see what that the view has been of the measure of success for business or for this or that or the other. But yeah, I really like the concept of measuring it, understanding what that measurement is for you.
And to that point, like I'm going through a little bit, you mentioned, what you want to do at school. I'm going through it a little bit at the moment with my daughter who's, selecting subjects to do in year 11 and 12. And what do you want to do at uni? Because you need to pick the right subjects to get into the uni. And on one hand, the kid who got the top mark when I went through school is driving buses now. And he's probably happier in life than having all this pressure that he had forever for being the top student at school and not quite achieving what everyone expected, but he's now just happily driving a bus. I was obsessed with being a research scientist and did everything I could. And then I didn't get the marks, but then I crept through, and then I failed subjects at uni, and I got lucky that I had a conversation with somebody who understood the way I learned and the way I did and went, no, you'd be actually really good doing honors, and he went to bat for me. But like now I work reading hundreds of pages of legislation and helping people understand that, and professionalism and ethics in financial services, which has got nothing to do with research science. I'm so happy and I love it. So my point is that, what is success has to change on a year by year, month by month, day by day, minute by minute basis, I find. And so I think that's, if you don't write it down, if you don't have that, how do I get what is success for me at the moment? It's really easy to forget. And then you get stuck with, I didn't achieve what I meant to achieve when I was 15 in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, Wendy, it was Cleves 2 or 3 years ago, but 30-ish years ago for me. Is it hard to type people do that? Get people to focus on that when you have that conversation with them? Do they do it? Because it's nice advice, but I won't do it.
No, because I think that people are so exhausted and so overwhelmed, and the more tired and overwhelmed you are, the less capacity you have to stop and think. So to therefore feel like you've nearly been given permission and you're allowed to change what success looks like for you, or to even think about what that might be, I feel it nearly, takes a bit of the load off their shoulders more than anything else. Yeah, rather than adding to it.
I think there's also, as I've been thinking about this for what measures of success might look like for me, there's different levels, right? There's, as you mentioned, there's, that it's got to be fun, and it's got to be this level of, and there might have to be, let's say if it's a business venture, there might have to be revenue involved. That's a success. Or there's might be a number of people that you can help, or blah, blah, blah. They're all measures of success. But it doesn't just have to be one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even though I'm totally agreeing with you that there doesn't have to be one, I am nearly obsessed with just one, which is going, when you go to bed at night, like, do I like myself? And do I like myself because my business is doing enough money to support all these people, or for me to live my life that I'm living? Or is my success from whatever exercise I'm doing that I can move my body in the way that I want to, or I can go on the holidays that I want to go on? Did I have enough connections with people that care about me today so that I feel I'm loved and I belong in the world? But again, because I like things to be simple, so that I remember, it's like, did I like myself today?
Oh, that's a good one.
I think that's really good. And
am I proud of myself? Yeah.
If you don't have it written down, it's easy to get back to that original point you were making. It's easy to reflect on the stuff that's gone wrong, ignoring the 98% of stuff that actually went right and was good, and going, not today. And
you were trained to think that way. School made you think that way. Like, why didn't you get that extra 2%? So you spent 20 years of education, and then you sort of went to work, and the better you did at work in your job, then, you'll get a promotion. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, you didn't do that right. So there was never that time where we stopped and went, hang on a minute, what does 100% mean to us, and what are we actually looking for? And And because, you look at your revenue of, okay, so maybe I've made $2 million for myself and this is awesome, my life's perfect. But that might not be what success is to you, because you might want to impact more lives in a really positive way. And I want to therefore create $10 million so that I can then help all of these people to do this, or then I can go and build a school in Cambodia, or I can, like, there's just so many different layers then to the why.
I think, I do like the concept of liking what you've done each day, so that you like yourself when you wake up in the next morning and you're like, oh, this is, you have to spend the rest of your life with you. So why don't you may as well be somebody that you like, right? Somebody that you want to hang out with at the dinner party, somebody that you want to have a complex conversation with at the dinner party that you talked about.
Yeah, you do. Yep.
Wendy, where can people find you if they want to keep thinking about how they like themselves and what they want and what success looks like to them?
Yes, and being kind to themselves. The number one place is probably Instagram. That's where I'm chattiest and generally have a lot to say. And my Instagram handle is It's Wendy Smith. And then you can find me on LinkedIn as well, which is obviously slightly trickier because Wendy Smith is a rather common name, but you should be able to find me.
We'll find a link.
Do a link for me. Yes. Perfect.
It's been great talking to you today, and thank you for joining us. And thank you for saying yes, because I know you were nervous about saying yes at one point, or
tried to say no.
Or trying to get in the car for a couple of months and go, I'm brave. I've got stuff to say. I can do this. So thank you for agreeing to come on today.
Thank you for trusting us as some of your safe people.
Well, you two are. You're both very open and honest and brave and safe. Yeah. And want the world to be a better place, or else you wouldn't be here doing the podcast in the first place. So I very much appreciate what you are doing and the opportunity. And yes, this was fun.
And I'm going to commit to a success of actually getting these podcasts edited and released. So if you're hearing this, I've ticked that box.
Yes. But otherwise, just tiny steps at a time, just one at a time.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, guys.